challenges were about how to kind of break the bottle and deliver the message that I actually want to start a business in beverage alcohol.
What's the difference, if I may ask, between a table variety grape and a wine variety grape?
There are certain parameters like the reducing sugar content in grape, how quickly how much sugar it can retain while fermenting. For an alcoholic beverage business, there are so many regulations across states. In 2015, when I wanted to start e-commerce for alcoholic beverage category, and then started a company called HipBar. So when you're ordering Johnny Walker Black Label, you don't have to necessarily order from a high street store.
Funk Foods was your bounce back business venture. So you came back with Funk Foods. Obviously, sipping spirits continues on the side and it's growing on its own.
It's small, beautiful, profitable, and if it is large and powerful, it is profitable. There is death in the middle. So I didn't want to go through that journey of trying to build it.
It's a very powerful statement. So small, beautiful, profitable, large, beautiful, profitable. Between the small and
large,
profitable,
powerful and profitable.
Large, powerful and profitable, and beautiful, of course, for the ones who run it. Very good morning, afternoon or evening, depending on when you're watching this, to yet another edition of the Bulletproof Business Podcast. I have a very special guest with me today, one of the most daring entrepreneurs in South India, probably India, has set up and scaled businesses in some of the most complicated, most regulated sectors in the Indian business ecosystem, and done an admirable job of defending a turf which was very, very hard to defend. I'm going to let Prasanna do more of his own introductions as we go along, but Prasanna, first of all, a very hearty welcome to the Bulletproof Business Podcast. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being here.
Pleasure is mine.
So I need to give you guys some context as to what Prasanna has done, so you can get to know him a little better, and then he will dwell on these more. So 3 businesses come to mind. The first was India's first e-marketplace, sales platform for alcohol, HipBar, and we will spend some time on that. And then there was a parallel brand or a business on manufacturing and selling of alcohol, sipping spirits. And the third, which is where Prasanna spends more of his time today, if I'm understanding correctly, is Funk Foods, which is again trying to totally disrupt the way Indians purchase ready to consume food products. So Prasanna, my first question to you is, you've taken to businesses which are highly regulated. So does rebellion excite you? You're basically in some sense rebelling against the established norms on how things have been done. So does rebellion itself excite you?
See, before rebellion, I think it would be naivety, because because all the businesses before I started were all very exciting, and once you get into hustle mode, then you wonder why you started it in the first place. Because if you knew all the problems, I think nobody would dare to start any of these businesses. But I guess also, I don't know whether to call myself to be rebelling, but I definitely think challenging would be the right word. And when I started in 2007 my alcoholic beverage business from Goa, that was the time when craft was just emerging also as a category in the United States, where I got to spend some time, working and studying. And then when I came back to India, at the time I looked at wine as a business, because I thought, with my background and with my own situation socially, I thought that it would be a good stepping stone to eventually starting a hard alcohol business.
So you were making wine?
No. I wanted to get into wine as a soft landing,
To get into hard alcohol?
Yeah, because nobody in my family drinks, and we come from a very orthodox family. So the challenges were about how to kind of break the bottle and deliver the message that I actually want to start a business in beverage alcohol. So I thought wine would be, so I looked at wine, and then I figured out that it's going to be difficult. So then I looked at spirits.
Why was wine difficult?
We are talking about 2007, and where the good, obviously you need to have a good source, and India at that time had 2 or 3 large wine manufacturers, Chateau Indaj, Sula, and Grover. They were the largest wine companies at the time. And so it was a market which was, small wineries didn't have the material, and they could not make great wine. And so I looked at actually the Theni district in Tamil Nadu, where eventually somebody else set up a winery, which is the Kambam Valley Winery. I looked at that terroir for making some, muscatel, with 40,000 tons of muscatel grapes grow there. So I thought I'll be able to set up some wine experience center, and I brought in experts from Argentina who actually deal with this kind of grape. But then we found that one, it was not suitable for making good wine because of the parameters of the grape. It was predominantly a table variety. Then
what's the difference, if I may ask, between a table variety grape and a wine variety grape?
The table variety grape and the wine variety grape, obviously, there are certain parameters like the reducing sugar content in grape, how quickly it does, how much sugar it can retain while fermenting, how much it reduces or ferments on the way to the winery, and also various, it's been 16, 17 years, so I'm not very sure about the parameters, but all I can tell you is that the table variety doesn't lend itself to making good wine because it is typically more sweeter, and you can't make very dry wine. It has to be a very sweet wine also. So I thought that, and also getting a license in Tamil Nadu was not going to be easy. So for these reasons, I thought, I actually went on a holiday to Goa for the first time in my life, and I opened the Navhin Times, the local newspaper, and saw that there was a advertisement for an IMFL and wine unit for sale. So I
this was in Goa.
Yeah, in 2007. So I went and looked at it. It was very average. It was very small and it was very quaint, but I didn't know whether it would make commercial sense. So then once there is a buyer in the market, and Goa being such a small market, and I got opportunity to visit other units also. Then I realized that the system is very favorable for starting an alcohol business, because practically you could go and meet the people who are decision makers within, for a person who for the first time went to Goa without any introductions, I could find myself to go there and meet them and figure this out, right? So I came back and then said that I want to start a craft spirits business. Then that's how it started, and so I couldn't find something that suited my purpose, so I went and bought land and acquired it and built the facility myself. And then we got a Dutch collaborator to kind of help us make vodka at that time. So things evolved, and so the setting up part, the acquiring the land part, developing the recipes was not the difficult part, but taking the product to the market obviously is, because all these things are cost centers, and the profit center journey is very difficult. And so the key point being that for an alcoholic beverage business, there are so many, like you initially said, so many regulations across states, and basically a chief compliance officer of a large company will be paid anywhere between 6 to 8 crores per annum kind of salary, and here we are looking at maintaining and meeting those same requirements with a guy who's drawing say 30,000 rupees per month salary, somebody who's earning 3 to 4 lakhs. So some level of complexity has to be dealt with somebody who's doing the same job at a much smaller level, right? So we found it challenging, and burnt my fingers with trying to do business in many states. Then eventually felt that cash flow was going to be a very important, probably the most important aspect of any business. So I got after markets where we could have predictable cash flows, like go after the canteen stores, go after markets like Tamil Nadu where the corporation is the buyer. So we worked around we changed our strategy to make sure that we focus more on cash flows rather than the fancy promotional and marketing aspects of being in Bombay, being in Delhi, being in Bangalore. It's very hard for a small brand.
And that worked for you?
it worked. And if you look at it, much later, 2000 cut to 2017, 16, 17, the entire craft revolution started in Goa. So, the Stranger and Sons, Greater Than, all the gin started, coming there. And today I think more than 60, 70 brands of, craft are operating from Goa. And while I was there in Goa, I've been evangelizing the fact that Goa should become a craft spirit destination, because one, regulatorily low, resistance, good water, Goa being the, the
party capital, fun capital.
So the brand gets a positive association. For all these reasons, I think it has rightly become the craft spirit destination. So that is how it's been. And in 2015, while I was running Sipping Spirits, I thought that, maybe e-commerce for alcohol would be an idea worth pursuing.
A new challenge for the rebel.
2015, when I wanted to start, thought of alcohol as for the e-commerce category, alcohol in the e-commerce category. At the time, I also moved back to Chennai because my daughter was getting to school, and so we moved back.
So you were staying in Goa all those years?
Yeah, for a good 6-7 years, I stayed there.
Nice.
Yeah, so and
so that made the business a lot more fun, I suppose.
Yes, I used to truck, the products we make and sell them to the bars. We had our own distribution, so it was, life was good. And about the business itself, I'll come later, because we have, we made products in such a way that it was easy for us to sell. Where we focused on packaging and the quality of the product and make it purposefully, not create an aura for the product by not overly marketing the product. So we did a combination of things. We will come to that later. But yeah, 2015, I thought it was a good time to consider alcohol for the e-commerce category. So I started out with so looked at what kind of a transaction fabric we can have, because we have to take people's money and then help facilitate. So the time we thought that the prepaid instrument route would be a good way to do this special wallet only for alcohol. So then we incorporated the company, and I named it HipBar Private Limited. And so when the RBI actually took up the application, at the threshold, the people at the top wanted to know what it was. So when I went there for the meeting and made a presentation, say that we want to actually make digitization happen in our industry, which was already highly cash intensive, and bring them to the formal payment system. I think they appreciated what we tried to do, and they instantly, granted us the authorization. So with that authorization, we started to build out, typically like a Paytm or any of the free charge, any of the payment operators. We set up QR codes. So in 2015, when I decided to come back to Chennai, and then I thought that, alcohol, why not e-commerce for alcoholic beverage category? And then we started a company called HipBar, and I found a partner in my school friend who joined me as the chief operating officer of HipBar. And we thought that the payment instrument, in some form of, we wanted to facilitate transaction, not just relay an order. So we wanted to take the customer's money and also own the customer's money, and then facilitate that full-blown mock a real transaction with the alcoholic beverages category, right? So the prepaid instrument route was decided, and then we approached the RBI for a license. When they saw the name HipBar, they got pretty excited to know what we were up to. So when they called us for a presentation, I made the presentation to say that we want to basically bring this cash intensive sector into the formal payments business, and they appreciated it. And also it so turned out that by the time we got the authorization, the 2016 demonetization also happened. So that helped push the agenda, and it supercharged the store recruitment including in Tamil Nadu where we operated, in the TASMAC network. We opened up other cities where somebody could simply look at the catalog of alcoholic beverages, like block a product and then go and exchange the token for a beverage. So they, instead of paying money, instead of not knowing what the shop would have, they could, first we opened up live inventory for them, what was around the place, what were the products that was available, and then you could block the money and then go either share it with somebody as a QR code, they can go and scan it and take the bottle, or you could go physically yourself and do it. So that was the initial model.
If I may interrupt you for a moment there, why has that the sale of alcohol online not taken off in India? Except I think in West Bengal and maybe a couple of more states today allow it on even platforms like Swiggy. But by and large, it's such a difficult experience. Unless you go to a bar and you buy a drink, which is obviously marked up 100x of the actual cost of the spirit itself. It's very hard to have alcohol conveniently delivered to your house in India today, and many entrepreneurs who are watching this want actually to get into that business. They want to solve that problem. Almost I think 600-700 million Indians must be consuming alcohol on a off and on basis, and a market of that size doesn't have a good enough supply system figured out on digital. So what is holding it back?
Like I've said, that is our Indian constitution which actually resists the idea of making alcohol access easy, because we have the the regulatory principles, Article 47, which says alcoholic beverages should be avoided and should be discouraged. So that kind of the principles are there, and also the alcohol business doesn't have any 19(1)(g) rights, which means that there is no fundamental right to carry on the business. So these two, a combination of these two factors make anything progressive to happen in the alcoholic beverages business very difficult.
How did West Bengal manage to overcome that then?
So we were the first to get the license in West Bengal. We opened the market. The West Bengal situation was, I'll tell you where the problem comes. The problem doesn't come from outside for the alcoholic beverage industry. The problem comes from within. Many of the license holders across states where the market is, so there are different structures of market, right? One where like Tamil Nadu, where the government owns the wholesale and retail. Kerala also very similar. Andhra used to be like that, now they have privatized. So where the private license holders are in the fray, it's like rent seeking for them on the license. So they don't want new licenses to be issued, and they don't want their strong connect with the brands to be disrupted by any man in the middle. So if there is a Kingfisher beer that is selling to the Karnataka State Beverages Corporation, which is in turn selling it to say somebody like Madhuloka doesn't want to have anybody else meddle with the affairs between him and Kingfisher. So what happens is, typically when you have a platform like HipBar coming up, the Kingfisher has marketing spends which are directed to the retail store. Some of it will be diverted to the online channel, and that doesn't augur well for the retailer. So he doesn't want that to happen. And two, a lot of these guys, high street, they pay high street rental, but the margins are all fairly regulated. So the only way they can make more money is to extract money from the brands. So when you're ordering Johnny Walker Black Label, you don't have to necessarily order from a high street store. Anybody who can offer it for a lesser price also you can order.
Correct.
And some random Anand wines in a
Corner.
Mangala corner can sell you the same product.
Yeah.
It becomes a dark store.
Effectively, yeah.
So for these, the retailers didn't want it, first of all. And the retailers are bringing in 70% of the revenue to the government, and they have a better say with how policy should be enacted. So that is our main problem in Karnataka. Karnataka, we got the permission to start alcohol delivery. We indeed started, and we ran it very successfully. We put in all the things which are not militating against the constitutional principles. We said that you can have a restriction on how many times a person can order. We can black out public spaces. We can regulate the time. We will give you a live inspection, like a field app where any of your enforcement authorities know where the deliveries are happening, and they can stop somebody to cross-verify whether they're doing the right thing. We gave them an exercise dashboard to kind of have a good oversight, not just of us, but should they want to regulate Swiggy, Zomato also through the same platform. We built out so much of,
Infrastructure
to facilitate. So every time we go into an excise office meeting, we know what their fears and apprehensions are. So we used to take that as
The
a
dashboard
product meeting and then go and build the product for that. Solve for it. And markets like Karnataka, Delhi, where you can scan a QR code in a bottle and then trace the purchase time and everything. We were able to incorporate and pretty much do, end to end, such that somebody decides to, impersonify somebody, we can't do anything. Nobody can do anything. So we have to look at whether the alternate system is better than the current system. So I tried arguing that to the, when they eventually, Karnataka government, after giving us permissions for more than 2 successive years, where we ran this as a live experiment, they suddenly decided to pull one day the permissions because, the retailer started, doing the dirty tricks.
because you were doing well.
We were doing well, and we were trying to. They thought that if we continued, then other players would also jump in. There was a lot of chirps in the market about Amazon and Flipkart also being interested in entering the space. Now that HipBar has come into the place, if one person is allowed, then everybody also has an equal right to partake in that same business. So then they felt quite threatened, and so at the time, the chief minister, they created a controversy and they kind of shut us down.
Had you shut down? But what about platforms like ONDC, for example? Can an open platform be used by people like who are the existing retailers to put their inventory and sell? So they don't add another man in the middle. They become the end point from where customers can consume, and you just provide the technology and the software to them to do it.
The problem is they're doing it anyway, with or without ONDC.
So they don't have a demand problem.
They don't have demand problem, and they'd like to keep it hush-hush and do it. They would rather
keep it cash and...
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons, they want to keep it like that. And, knowing, on the one hand, I am also a manufacturer who's selling to them. So I know
what the inner dynamics are.
Yeah, and as a consumer, I know what the problems are. So when I was running HipBar, I used to have like I tried to basically bring the entire industry together to make this happen. But then I realized that some of the larger players are also not interested in that. We had investments from one of the largest, alcoholic beverage companies. Diageo invested in our business. It's a story to say that before Diageo invested, I offered the same deal to everybody else. So I had offered the same investment deck to all the alcoholic beverage companies to take a small piece of the HipBar action and support us. And if anybody fell short of taking it, somebody else could underwrite it. So it was, and we kept the ownership and the platform distinct, as a matter of policy. So we also told Diageo clearly that you will be first amongst equals, and no favoritism will be shown to you just because you've invested. Your investment can appreciate as an investment per se, but don't look at, because you can't have a
others may not sell to you.
Marketplace where, so we ended up working with all the people. But then we know that when tough times come, who stand by you? So some of these other larger companies that were initially part of the network, they try to opt out and they try to see, that somehow Diageo looks bad in the eyes of the world by making an investment in HipBar. So it went into some kind of crossfire. But whatever said and done, we tried to do the best, and the courts were also not very, very happy. About the system. Some judges are very liberal, some judges are very conservative, and we ended up before a conservative judge before the Karnataka High Court, and that judge, she dismissed our writ, even though we had very good grounds to say that there was no sale that was being transacted between me and the customer. And and on every measure, even if you take on the basis of proportionality, we met all the threshold to say that we were better than what was the status quo purchase of alcohol. because there is no intelligible differentiation between a person who's going to the store and buying alcohol and a person sending his agent to buy alcohol. So the overarching principle was that for us, inconvenience is one of the policy deterrents
Clearly.
for alcohol
Consumption of alcohol.
and
But why not for cigarettes then? Because cigarettes are freely sold on Swiggy, where if anything they cause more harm. It's arguable, both cause harm in their own way, but so does sugar, right? And you can consume a sugary snack from Swiggy any day you want. So why are cigarettes allowed? But for whatever reason, because you've been deep in that, and many of our viewers would want to know this.
I think Article 47 doesn't call out cigarettes and smoking, because even when smoking started, for a very long time, I think until mid 80s, smoking was permitted on airplanes.
Airplanes. So was alcohol.
Yeah, no, alcohol still, but airplanes, because people did not suspect that smoking could cause cancer. Even when initially they put radios on cars, they thought radio would be a distraction when people are driving. So they, banned radios in cars initially. So I think what has happened is, as life evolves and as better understanding of people's habits come into understanding, things change. And I'm sure in the next 10 years, somebody else will again try making alcohol home delivery possible. They'll take one more hit at it. And I think that time, hopefully, there will be better sense that will prevail.
Correct. No, it has to move in that direction.
Because with cigarettes, I think there is a large farmer lobby, and they put the farmer bogey every time to say that so many farmers are dependent on tobacco cultivation, and
it's all the story you spin.
Yeah, and the lobby that is strong wins.
Very true.
And if you look at the ITC balance sheet, the top shareholder is LIC. So an insurance company hedges their risk perfectly by being at 20 plus.
And government-owned insurance company, no less.
So that explains everything. So the myopic view of our world. Yeah.
It's a very interesting take. But just if you permit me to, when you had to finally pull the plug on HipBar and sell to Cred, right? What was shattered or what was shaken the most at that time? Was it your faith in yourself? Was it your faith in the startup ecosystem? Was it your faith in yourself as a visionary? And I know this is a tough question, but how did you that's the first part, and the second part is how did you overcome that? Because you've gone on to bigger heights after that.
So no, it was, I think the writing was on the wall when we kind of lost the Supreme Court case on this Bangalore matter. So then we had to definitely look at a way to keep the business still valuable and attractive. So luckily that so I have learned to look at every adversity as an opportunity to kind of pivot or do something. So for me, monetary success or the gains were never per se my motivation. So what I wanted to do was, actually the entire HipBar sale journey itself was very interesting, because we had a company from Chennai, a very prominent payments company, that came to acquire us when we were really looking at the end of the journey. And so they had a payments business very complementary to them, and they had raised a lot of money. So they said that we'll take over your staff initially, and we'll keep. So I said minimum compliance staff I need to have, and anyway this acquisition has to be blessed by RBI. So we can't do anything until that happens. So, but they said we'll anyway go ahead and make the offers because we don't have money to pay salaries anymore. So we gave them all our people with the hope that RBI will approve it. But as luck would have it, RBI did not approve the transaction in the way they suggested, because the business had other litigation, etc. So that gave me, immediately I placed my team with a very good organization, very good founders. So they had jobs which they could straight away start and do.
Nice.
So that kind of took the load off my back. So moral pressure of employee retrenchment was taken care of. Then RBI extended the timeline for increasing the net worth to a certain date. It was initially March 31st, then they pushed it to September 30th, which gave me more time to look at the options with less worry at the office about, payments, etc. So then I kind of started talking to people, and then one thing led to the other. We had some crypto companies that came in to acquire us. We had some Indian e-lenders that were interested in acquiring us. And then finally
Did the deal with you.
And before that, with all this litigation, once we technically lost the Supreme Court matter, Diageo also lost their interest in the business. So they gave me an option to buy them back, and I acquired them. And then I had to raise money to maintain the net worth of the business, which I managed to do. And then eventually found a way to sell to Cred, and Cred used our existing infrastructure, the payment, and some of the other compliant team members which I retained. I put them onto Cred, and on October 11th, on my partner's birthday, we closed the deal to sell the business to Cred in October 2021.
So you were able to come out of that relatively unscathed.
Yes, because I always held that payment instrument and the infrastructure around payments were necessary for us to protect our legal standing before the court. Because when you run like a mini bank for alcohol and all the compliances, PCI, DSS, all the information security, AML, scratching, and all the things that are typically required of a bank, it was taking a lot of money to run that enterprise. But I always said that we can't. So many times our investors suggested that you're just spending money on things which are not necessarily required for the business at that point in time. You can go onto a more marketing platform, you can tie up with other payment instruments. But nobody else was willing to. No other, because alcohol, the category itself is so scary to many people that they didn't want to tie up. So in the end, what happened is I kept the business, white elephant, parked in the garage. But then eventually that turned out to be the silver lining also for us. So for all the things that were not, so I got rid of all the litigation in my business and transferred it to another company, and I kept the payments company fairly clean, and that's when it found its value. So it was not, those moments were pretty tense because we didn't know
how it was going to land.
Yeah, but because the first offer that came to me was it's such a small offer that I didn't have anything to lose at that point. It kind of made my expectations very low, that I was able to anything better than that would be better for me, that kind of situation. Yeah.
But after this, when you came back with, so actually I have a few more questions, but I don't want it to be an alcohol podcast.
No,
so I'll stop. I'll do one more question on because you're still running Sipping Spirits. In fact, you're looking at Sipping Spirits 2.0.
Yes.
So does it ever cross your mind, because you know the tech needed to sell alcohol online now, you have cracked that code, and there are states like West Bengal, or does Goa also allow it? Orissa, West Bengal, Orissa, and maybe tomorrow Andhra Pradesh may also allow it, given the way the winds appear to be blowing. It's a very progressive state now.
Yes.
So the entire belt, if they allow the sale of alcohol online, and you also control the production today. It's through Sipping Spirits. Has it ever occurred to you to launch, say, a Costco for alcohol, where you have your own branded spirits, your own sales platform, and you control the entire chain, rather than
You have to be an Ambani to be able to do that in India, because no ordinary man will be able to do it, and this requires tectonic shift in the way policy has to be viewed by
What stands in your way? So West Bengal allows you to sell and distribute.
West Bengal allows you to do last mile delivery.
Only, not a distribution.
No place where you can do, that doesn't. It used to happen in UP back in the day when the Chadda family was running where you could manufacture, you could retail, you could sell, and you promise the government some revenue. They don't look into the details of it. So at that time, in those kind of...
It was happening.
Yeah.
But I think the governments today do that. They manufacture, they sell, they distribute. Some state governments effectively do that.
Kerala has its own distillery, but they sell the cheapest alcohol to kind of make it also available to
everybody.
Yeah, so some states do that. But I think alcohol business will always be in tatters, and that's why the large, one of the CEOs I met said that why does innovation not happen in the alcoholic beverage industry in India? It's because of the regulation and the regulatory, overhang, and the sword is always hanging. So nobody is incentivized, and unless you have a large enterprise and an army of men, you will never be able to surmount this.
I think the fear is if you deregulate it, every man will be a drunkard tomorrow, right? I think that's the fear in the minds of the policymakers. That's why the constitution is the way it is.
The fear is actually becoming reality, but nobody has a solution because it's no more a fear. It is the reality, and for that reality, we don't have any single solution. If you ask any state, every state excise department policy will say prohibition excise. But what are they doing? What are they prohibiting? Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the economics of any state, the liver will make more money than the heart and the lungs and the brain put together. Because state revenue, right? And this is the pocket money for the state government. So they don't have to ask anybody. Quite clearly, we don't have a solution. India is going to have a big drinking problem. And because of the way the states have misused their monopoly over the business, and they have taken monopoly under the refuge of saying that we would prohibit and restrict. But what they have effectively made this enterprise as a quick money making, pocket money generating business. They have completely left the public at on the lurch, looking at addiction and repetitive episodic drinking, social abuse. Everything is happening, and their defense is that online will bring children into the play. Tell me one shop or one place where they actually putting age gating. Does the Tasmac store or any store have any kind of an insight as to who's buying, do they have the time to verify an ID? Do they have time to issue a bill? So what are we looking at? We just, wherever it is convenient, they will,
they block
the narrative.
Maybe we'll end with this because otherwise I won't have any time to spend on Funk Foods. But Funk Foods was your bounce back business venture. So you came back with Funk Foods. Obviously, Sipping Spirits continues on the side and it's growing on its own. So why take another business which is so hard in terms of the variables, the form factor itself? So for those of you who don't know, Funk Foods has figured out a way to make packaged food available, ready to eat packaged food available in very convenient form factors. In fact, I think I have a couple of packets of their products here. This is Chutneyfy, one of their brands, and you can get chutney, home style chutney in a few seconds. So it's a very different kind of business you've started here. Again, you need to make market, you need to make the market, change perceptions, all of that stuff. Why not just do something easy?
That is easy. I mean, it is easy only. But what has happened is, that was unfortunately my parachute. The chutney idea was my parachute for many of the failures of my alcohol, adventures. So originally, even before I started the alcoholic beverage business in Sipping Spirits, that was I always chose alcohol over chutney. So, and I mean the food idea. So in 2014, again when I came back from Goa to Chennai, I had the option to do food or continue with the tech and alcohol. So I chose tech. But once I got burnt out in the entire process because I spent between 35 and 41, probably the primest years of one's life, trying to
build that business.
So I said I don't want to be involved in any over-regulated businesses. As it is, spend less than an hour running my alcohol business in a week. It is all the people take care of it. I kept it purposely small because it's small, beautiful, profitable, and if it is large and powerful, it is profitable. There is death in the middle. So I didn't want to go through that journey of trying to build it out.
It's a very powerful statement. So small, beautiful, profitable, large, beautiful, profitable. Between the small and
large,
profitable,
powerful and profitable.
Large, powerful and profitable, and beautiful, of course, for the ones who run it. But in the middle is that valley of death, right, where you have to really go through. What are some of your own journeys traversing that valley?
No, I just didn't even have the courage to
as far as your sipping spirits is concerned.
Yes, because I felt that it is not, for that I had to do a lot more. I first of all didn't want to sell any cheap alcohol. So that cut me off from that journey itself, because I kept it very craft, I kept it very elitist, I kept it very,
Profitable.
Profitable. Apart from that, also maintaining very high quality and other things. So I didn't want to sell to an everyday drinker, and that was not my choice. So
your brand is Revolute.
we have our alcoholic beverage. We run a brand called Resolute. We have a tequila by name Hoist. We have a gin that is sells here called Hitchkey.
Hitchkey is by you?
Yeah. And we are just launching a whiskey called Graffiti in Goa.
Graffiti.
Yeah. That is a rebel product. So it is we're getting spirits from other non-Scotch.
So Graffiti, a whiskey, Hitchkey is a gin, Resolute is a vodka, and you mentioned one more.
Hoist.
Hoist is a? Tequila. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. In this, so I sold, coming back to cred and situation, I sold on 11th of October, and I was 15th of October 2021, I was on a flight to, put together the team and the, I buy the experimental equipment for the funk food idea. So 2021, right somewhere very close to your office is when we set up our test kitchen and our experience center. We hired food technologists, we hired, culinary experts, and we started experimenting with, what I believed would be a good category to enter, which is chutneys. And so the experiments worked well for a year. Then we immediately found a facility outside Chennai where we, repurposed it for our requirement, and we moved there, and Funk Foods was launched. So for every business of mine, I try to find a partner who can operate well.
So you can be the mentor and the...
Because I can't do the routine things very well. So I need a very good hand to kind of operate the businesses. So even the only business which I badly run is my own alcohol business, where I don't have that partner.
Sipping spirits.
Yeah. But later on I learned from the journey that since I can't do it, I need a partner. So I have had a partner for HipBar. Now I have a partner for
What's your advice to potential founders, co-founders here? Found alone, co-found, be part of a larger team, or try to go it alone? So there's no right answer, obviously, but
I prefer to have complementary skills are very important, and compatibility with your founder is important.
Very important.
So if you have 2-3 people coming together with different set of skills, it is a big game changer. And so I would strongly think co-founding, sharing risk, sharing,
reward.
It's a very lonely journey. So therefore, you have some people that you can actually walk it with. It'll be great.
Especially for people who take on business challenges like you, it becomes much lonelier then.
We need a tribe of people who believe in the vision and the policy, and we had a great team. The greatest joy of building HipBar was not, anything else but to work with very highly intelligent and very smart people. When working across various functions like, creativity, marketing, going into legal, going to courts, it was pretty much my brain was stretched out.
Last question, although would encourage all of you to obviously like and subscribe, but if you have any more questions for Prasanna, please drop them. We'll give you a link to his LinkedIn and everything else, but drop them in the comments, and if he can snatch his time for a follow-on to this, we will. We'll try to get all your questions answered, so feel free to ask as many questions as you want in the comments. But for today, we'll have one last question to you, Prasanna, and that is, you have seen many journeys, many ups and downs, many cycles as they call it. And every cycle leaves a scar which you have to then convert into a shield, right, for your next phase of growth. So if you can walk us through a couple of scars, like a scar on your personality, right, which you as a founder went through. I'll give you an example. It could be in terms of a scar on your belief, a scar on your sense of self-worth, a scar on your sense of strength, which you then converted to a shield and then a weapon to power you to the next level. So is there anything that you'd like to share with our viewers?
See, I may not have too many, scars per se, because I don't take anything too personally.
How do you do that?
By detaching from the outcomes of the business.
Hmm.
And basically what happens is, you need to always be very persistent. You cannot give up because there is a bad day or a series of bad days, or one partner decides to leave you, or your key man decides to quit. Those are the more difficult and painful moments. But other than that, you can quickly come back. So if you have courage and persistence are the two most important things. And in your DNA, if you have it only, you will be successful as a business person. If these two qualities are not in you, then you don't have anything. You may be the most creative person, but then you can't be the entrepreneur. You can be part of a team where you play your role.
Does courage come a little bit from delusion or stupidity?
Totally. Courage comes from, and also a lot of belief and dreaming it comes. You need to be able to dream about your victories, and you need to be able to,
Live your victory before it happens.
Yes, and be very cocky about the fact that you are going to win. Sometimes that kind of delusionality, or will definitely help you to be there. And you always have to hear your inner voice. As an entrepreneur, the greatest of fears actually are told to you. You just don't listen to it deeply because you don't want to work on the possibility of solving it. Many people get too, touchy about the fact that if some fear is there, they try to quell it without trying to address why that fear came about in the first place. So I think it's a lot of inner journey, as much as it is you talk to the world, you build confidence. It all comes from within actually. And, if you look inward and you have the essential nature of persistence and courage, I think you will end up being a good entrepreneur. And when you have these two things, it will become an automatic shield for any scars. You take it as part of the journey. It's like, anybody who goes on a trek will always get chipped and they fall down, but they don't give up, right? They go for the next trek, knowing that, it's going to happen again and it's not going to kill them. So I think some kind of, mindset like that would help.
In a line, what is your inner voice telling you right now?
Keep going.
Thank you so much, Prasanna. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.